Hello, everyone. It is your girl, Marcie Thomas here, a little earlier than normal if you're watching us live. So thank you for everyone for joining us today for a very special conversation that I really can't wait to get into. Now, if this is your first time joining us for Live Well Sister, once again, I'm Marcie Thomas, founder of Brown Girl Collective, and of course, your host for the day. If you caught the intro, you can see that Live Well Sister is about us being able to live well in a variety of areas, ranging from our spiritual life to just being able to have joy and everything in between. And today's special guest, very, very special guest, is here with us to talk about something that can determine how well we actually live, and that's whether or not we are financially literate or not. So by means of introduction, I want to introduce you to Dorethia Kelly, who is an MBA, who is an award-winning financial expert who specializes in helping ordinary people like us conquer their worst fears on the way to becoming debt-free and financially independent. She is a personal finance and business coach, author, and CEO of Money Chat, which we will be talking about today. Look at that beautiful hardcover, shiny book I have here. But we're going to talk about that today. Her financial advice has been featured on Black Enterprise, CNBC, U.S. News, USA Today, Experian, and much, much more. So without any further delay, let's welcome Dorethia Kelly. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. And I have to say, it's Dorethia. People get so upset with me when I don't say how to pronounce it. The E throws everybody else.
Oh, Dorethia, I apologize.
No apologies necessary. I appreciate you.
Yes. Well, welcome, Dorethia. Yes, we're going to get it right. I'm going to keep saying it till I have it right in my mind. Well, I know how parents are. They throw extra stuff in there.
Yes, they do.
So welcome. And I didn't say, but you are joining us from Detroit, where I lived for several years, and we have lots of friends and people in common because of
it. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So how was it that you initially got involved in being the queen of money matters and money chat?
It always starts with us. Our missions oftentimes start with us or a loved one. But for me, this started with me. I was a single mother, I had two girls. I was a young mother. And I knew that I did not want to live my life broke. Everybody around me basically was broke. And I didn't know how, but I knew that was not going to be my life. And as a single mother, it was also very important to me that my daughters, sometimes there's a stigma on a single parents, and it's just unfair. And I didn't want there to be a situation where my daughters didn't have access because I couldn't afford to provide that access because it wasn't a two-parent household. So for me, I wanted to live well. I wanted to be able to buy things. I was tired of being broke and creditors calling. Oh my God, being in tears with the creditors calling. So I began to teach myself how to manage my money. I was playing around online, looking at different things. And that's how I basically began to educate myself, reading, going to sessions, listening to, everything that was online. And I began to teach myself with what I needed to do so that I could get on the proper financial footing. And then you know how it is when you learn something. I'm like, when you're that type of person, you want everybody to succeed. You want everybody to come up. And because I'm like, all of y'all need this. Because we're all in the same boat. And so I began to teach it actually in the community. That was the foundation of my community advocacy, was teaching financial literacy.
Thank you for sharing that, because your story is real. And that's why I wanted you to share that, though, because I know that there are probably other single moms out here that are watching, and just women who are responsible for their households, women and men, but specifically women, since this is a space that's primarily for Black women. But it's important to know that these are things that we need to do so we can take care of our families and also consider what's going to go on with the future generations as well.
That's right.
That's so important. So Money Chat, now, of course, this is the new and updated revised. Yes, and it's beautiful. I purposely got the hardcover because
thank you.
I like the hardcover books, but this is a revision. How long ago did you write the first one?
So 8 almost 10 years ago. So
Wow.
crazy. I don't advise this of anybody. I got married in November of 2014, and the book came out in February for my birthday in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right. Crazy, right? So
Mhm.
that was then, and then I wanted to do an update so people could see based on what's going on now. Like I could have just left it, but I said no. There's a lot going on in finances now. We need to really talk about some things, and I wanted to have a fresh perspective. So I did a revision and update to faith, so people could have a resource for what's going on now in their finances.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you.
And it
And
is
it is
important because
important
there
because
are
our
definitely things that have changed since you wrote it.
Yeah.
We'll get into some of the things that are in the book that are different from what we might have been dealing with, 8 years ago, so
Right.
8 or 9 years ago. So one of the things that you start off with and that I've heard other people talk about, but you do such an excellent job
Aw.
of presenting it, is it all starts with your money mindset.
Yes. Yes. So before vision boards were the popular thing, my vision board was my wall in my bedroom, and I had sticky notes. I would print people's pictures or houses and different things, and I would tape them to the wall, and I would stick my sticky notes to the wall with my affirmations. And before it became a thing, a popular thing, and that is how I began to get my money mindset together. I would speak what I wanted. That's the only way to do it. And your speaking lines up with your actions. That's why it's called money chat, because what you say and
Right.
what you do are aligned. I would walk through Target and I would touch the shelves because Target's a little more expensive.
Right.
I would touch the shelves and I would say, one day I'm going to walk through here and I'm going to be able to buy whatever I want. So
Mhm.
those are the things that I did, and that was for me to affirm abundance and wealth into my life. But then there's some things that you also have to do so that your mindset doesn't stop you from receiving it. Because
Right.
when you've always done things a certain way, or everybody in your circle is doing things a certain way, it can push you back and think, who am I to think I can do this? I've never had a lack of confidence, but even people can chip away at it with the things that they say. When I first started on the journey and I'm trying to share with everybody and say, you can pay down your debt, you can pay off your debt, you can this. And everybody's like, Dorothea, you got to pay to live in this world. It's, sacrificing to pay off debt. Like, why would I do that? I'll just keep making my monthly payments, and that way I can go buy and go do whatever I want to, that kind of thing. And then you'll question yourself, like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
And so you have to remember your goal. Your goal is not to always have debt payments. Your goal is to live the life you want to live and be financially free to
Right.
do whatever you want with your money, not somebody telling you what you have to do with your money.
Mm-hmm. I love that because I was just thinking about a family member of mine. I won't say who,
I'm
but
getting into trouble now.
yeah, because they'd be like, "Why are you telling my business?" But that didn't always necessarily do things the quote unquote right way. But as I was reading your book, I'm like, I'm going to share it with her, and I know that she'll be like, "Oh, okay, I got it. It took some time." But I mean, that's just the reality, that a lot of times as we're younger, we're coming up, if we don't see certain things, we don't know certain things.
Yes.
And sometimes you do have to be the person that says, hey, I want to do something differently. I want to live my life differently, even though I might have done things a certain way for 20, 30, 40 years.
Exactly.
It's never too late for me to change so that I can have, a better financial, wellness in my life. So now, I just wanted to start with that mindset because that mindset is so important.
It's very important. Very important. I tell people, talk to yourself. I talk to myself. I don't have any problem with it.
Right.
If I'm spending too much, or if sometimes you need to give yourself permission to spend too. That's a whole other topic. Or if I am in my feelings, a lot of times we do that in your feelings shopping. I've done some things like that in the past. You have to talk to yourself, say, no, that does not help you reach your goals.
Right. So that's good stuff. So the money chat movement, we already kind of touched on it a little bit. Chat is like how you're talking to yourself.
Yes, yes. The money chat movement is all about what you're saying and doing with your money. It started hashtag money chat came from a Twitter chat.
Okay.
I ran a Twitter chat for about 5 years. I was already doing financial coaching. And then when Twitter came on the scene, I said, let me jump on this. And I just started doing a Twitter chat for fun. And that's how money chat came about. It turned into a movement. A friend of mine who's a journalist said, Dorothea, you don't even realize what you're doing. You're
Mm.
taking a conversation that is often a difficult one to have and often one full of shame, and you're making it accessible by doing this Twitter chat. And so we did the Twitter chat, and then we took the online conversation offline with the book and with doing live events. So I would have these monthly money chat live events at different businesses. And so it was about accessibility. And because often when I step on stage, I am often regard this transcends actually race and gender. When
Mhm.
I step on stage, I'm often the first person many in the room have ever heard or seen talk about money.
Wow.
So it
Wow.
opens up, especially in the Black community and the communities of color, it's even more so. But
Yeah.
so I wanted to do those events so that number one, we were showcasing local businesses and getting the message about financial freedom out there.
All right. Well, I did a little something for you that I didn't tell you that I did, but as we go, as we go through the book, I just want to kind of talk about there's four key areas that you cover in the book that are part of the money chat. First, we start with getting out of the hole.
Yes. Nice,
See what I did
nice.
for you?
I like it. I like it. And the four sections born out of people I would meet and my clients and speaking. And the number one thing, you've got to stop, you've got to get out of the hole. Like you've got to be able to look up and see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So the first section is all about that. How to stop creating more debt, how to get on the good foot financially so that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that is so, so important because a lot of times we try to fix one thing with
Mhm.
something that actually makes it worse. And
Right.
then you're still digging yourself into a deeper hole. So yes, yes, yes. The very first thing you must do is begin to get out of the hole. And that starts with taking a long, hard, serious look at your debt
Right.
and your habits. So you make a list of your debts. I know, trust me, I have been there where it's like, you know what, I really don't want to know.
Yeah. 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 I understand.
But you have to face it so that you can overcome it.
Right. And I like how you say a lot of people say, oh, I need to manage my debt. For you say it's not just about managing it, it's
Yeah.
about getting rid of it. So,
Yeah.
what's the differentiation?
Well, a lot of people say managing, and I think that if you continue to say I'm managing my debt, you won't really remember our words have power. You won't really have the debt pay off in view. And yes, ultimately you are managing your money until you pay it off. But I really want people to focus on how can I pay off my debt.
Mhm.
So that's the difference there. Managing is you have debt and you'll always have it, and you just manage what you pay, what you have. Paying off debt means I will be debt free one day.
Hmm. And there are ways, and you talk about it in the book,
Yes.
ways that you can start working towards that, and it's so important because a lot of people do have the mindset, well, I'm always going to have bills, and
Yeah.
maybe some things you will always have, like utilities and things like that.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
not a way you can really get out of that, but
Yeah.
or insurance on your car or your home or apartment
Right.
or whatever. Yeah, you're going to have those things, but some of the other bills we don't necessarily have to always carry
You
those.
don't.
But one of the things that you talk about also in the book is student loan debt. And I know a lot of us out here are like waiting to see what the
Yes.
government is going to do.
Yes. 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 And please continue to do so. Make sure you are following studentaid.gov to keep track of everything that whatever the legislation is, whatever the new rules are, and the pause. When the pause is going to end, you have to stay on top of those things. Regardless of what any government does, though, You are the economist in your household. You
Mm.
are the financial manager of your household. So when it comes to your student loans, you really want to look at yourself as that as well. And I know a lot of people are like, I'm not thinking about those student loans. Trust me, there's going to be a day that comes when you're going to want to buy something, do something, and that student loan debt is going to be hovering over you. So always have a plan for it. And if you can't pay right now, right away, I talk about options in the book: deferment, forbearance, all the things. There are options for you. But if you ignore it at one point, if you're really trying to build wealth and you're really trying to find financial freedom, it's going to come back.
Yeah, it definitely. Well, one of the things that I think about how nowadays a lot of young people who they go to school, they get out and they end up moving back home because of
Yeah.
student loan debt. They
Yes.
can't
Yes.
afford to move out on their own, or
Yes.
go buy a home, or a lot
Yes.
of these things. They go back home because of student debt.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not even mad at that. What I say, what I recommend, I had a client who was a doctor. Finally finished school, they go to school longer. Finally finished school. I'm like, don't go out and buy a house. Do not go out and buy a car. Because as a physicians, lawyers, and even some business majors, you end up with six-figure debt. If you are in a position, a lot of us weren't in that position. I didn't have the option, right, to go home, live with mama, and pay off debt.
Right.
That wasn't a thing. But if you have the option to go back home and stay with your parents or loved one of any relation, and take a year, take 2 years, make your money, pay them a little money, and pay off your student loan debt, I advise that highly. What happens is, and I call this, this is what we told our kids: don't rush your struggle.
Don't rush your struggle.
Don't rush your struggle. If somebody is willing to let you do that, and you all get along and you can follow the rules of their home, do whatever they say do. Wash those dishes, keep your room clean, do whatever needs to be done so that you can be on a good financial footing. You spend 2 years, pay minimal amount of rent, and put a lot of your, even half of your income on your student loans, you probably can pay them off.
Wow.
But what happens is what? Everybody gets our kids are no different. You get a little taste of freedom because you're in college and you want to, I don't want to go home and listen to my mama's rules. But I'm going to tell you, every student that I talked to, a young person I talked to that did that, ended up being able to pay off, if not pay it off in full, pay off a significant amount of student loans. And then when they did leave their parents' house, their bills were minimal to where they could enjoy life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And anyone who has any questions or testimonials, please feel free to drop them in the chat, because we love to see and hear real world stories. But that is so powerful. Just a little bit about me. I went to the military, and that helped me to pay for school. But shame on me, once I got out, I got additional that I got built, I got the loans for.
It's life.
Yeah, if I'd have been a little bit smarter, I probably wouldn't have done it that way. But at the time, you think that that's the way to go. And the reality of it is, sometimes, and this is real talk, I'm sure some of your clients run into that as well, that you might think you're going to go out and get that six-figure job, but sometimes it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. And we can't beat ourselves up, because think about what we were taught. Like we don't have to get into that here today, but there's a whole marketing movement around go to school, just get a loan, you can pay it back later. But the truth is, like you said, most of us did not get that job out of college that was even going to come close to paying our student loans. After I got my bachelor's degree in business and finance, my job, I made $40,000 a year.
Right.
That wasn't going to cover it and take care of my children. Not at all. So, I don't think we need to, hey, we did you do the best you know how to do at the time with the information.
Right. Right, exactly. I did the best I could, the best I knew how at the time. Absolutely. But also, in this section, I love that you also talk about some of the other things that can create challenges, which are people payday loans.
Yes.
Having issues with taxation.
Yes, the IRS.
Yes, the IRS, because they will come for you and they will take. And they're not playing with you.
They are not. They are not. And I wanted to include those pieces because I was seeing a recurring theme with a lot of my clients, especially with the IRS debt and the payday loans. I think in that section we also talk about gambling.
You do.
Um, but as far IRS is very important because when a lot of time work living in Detroit and a lot of areas are the same where whenever you get overtime, a lot of people are having that taxed. So what was happening is these taxes weren't coming out. You're getting all this overtime. And at the end of the year, you end up owing. And so every year, you can't pay back all that money. Well, most people can't. Let me just say that. Or they choose not to, whichever one it is. And so year after year, you're getting on these payment arrangements with the IRS. Or you're not, which is a whole nother ballgame. If you're getting on the payment arrangements, you're owing all this debt, all this interest, but it's year after year after year after year. With those who just don't pay, that's a whole other ball game. Now I'm here to tell you, if you owe the IRS, please, you're not getting away with anything ever. They're coming. They have time, opportunity, and teams to wait on you and come get you when you least expect it. So you have to make an arrangement with them to make a payment. And I know for some folks, it's been years and you've got debt. And some folks may think, well, I switched jobs and this, that, and other, but I'm here to tell you, the moment you get that job and you're feeling real good and you're making that good money, the IRS will come for your money. And the amount that they're going to make you pay, you're going to wish you had made a payment arrangement with them. So to avoid that, I give some strategies in the book, but I want to give some strategies here. Always have some money taken out for those taxes. You can't avoid it. I don't care. You can watch all the TikToks you want and tell you that you don't have to pay taxes. It is not the truth. Trust me.
I mean, we've seen too many high profile people, of course they have a lot more money. Yes. That doesn't mean that it can't happen to us. I know, once again, people I know someone, a family member that went through that for years and years, they weren't, their checks were being garnished because of it.
They will come and take more than half. And then you have to hire an attorney to try to get the payment down and all those kind of things. I'm telling you, it is nothing you want to go through.
So I love that. That's all about how we get out of the hole. And like I said, I like the fact that you included those other things because some books don't touch on those things. Yeah. So you are actually tapping into your clientele and things that you see real, within the community. Those things are real.
I wanted to have the unspoken conversations. I always say, even with the gambling piece, it was an education for me. When I was writing the book the first time, I was really super anti-gambling, anti all the things. And it wasn't until I started doing research for the book and started talking to people that would share their stories, and the stories are in the book, that I got the education of there is a difference between recreation and compulsive. And how each needs to be handled. And then I also want to make sure that I'm not talking about, people when talking about gambling, they're like high rollers and all. This is not television. Right. I'm not talking about television. We're talking about scratch offs. We're talking about going to the casino and just spending all day on the penny slots, along with the other things. So I get into it deep, but people's homes, lives, everyday people that you would not suspect or know, people who you think may have it all together. Some of those folks may have a gambling problem based on some of the research I did and the people I talked to. People making six figures, some people making six figures times 2 and 3, but they're gambling $500,000 a year. They're owing. It's a lot. So just I just want to have the real conversations. The real conversation.
Yeah. And as you're talking, of course, I don't live in Detroit anymore, but I was there when the casinos opened for it.
Yes. We have a lot of casinos now.
Yes. And of course, people were playing the numbers and all that kind of stuff.
About those numbers,
Yeah. My daddy was a numbers guy.
My daddy was a numbers man.
Yeah, he loved to play the number.
Yes, we won't talk about that. I was trying
We'll
to.
talk after.
I know.
Yeah, but because he passed away a few years ago, like, man, I needed his dream books, but
Exactly.
nevertheless. But yeah, I mean, it is something that can definitely get out of hand. And I mean, I know this was not in the questions that I gave you, but just as we're having this conversation, I'm just thinking about how in our community, some people can fall into that because they are trying to handle the things that they can't handle from paycheck to paycheck, which is why they might be doing a payday loan, why they might be gambling to try to cover things in betwixt and between. So it does, in certain communities, I can see where that would be a problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even the hey, we can talk about it, the house parties, and here's the thing, I want everybody to be clear. It's not about the fun.
Right.
It's when the fun turns into compulsive behavior and people are not able to pay their bills.
Right.
We're not, bashing anybody's fun. Everybody loves a good card party. Okay. But when your fun really turns into you having this idea of this is how I'm going to make extra money, and it's nothing you can bank on.
Right.
And then it turns into compulsive behavior. And honestly, the truth, I don't want to give it all away, but I won't give it all away, but yes, we talk about it.
Yes, it's in the book, please. And all of our information is scrolling at the bottom, including the website where you can go and buy the book. Of course, you can get it from other places as well. But yes, you got to get the book to get all of it. This is just kind of a teaser. But we also have a comment about the taxes, which is true. Okay. Check your potential partners because in some places, marriage will automatically tie you to their old tax.
Yes. And I tell you in the book how to fight that.
All right. So Rachel, if you don't have the book, get a copy of the book or share it with others that you might find that are in that situation. Because sometimes it's hard to tell people, but if you give them a book, they might.
And she's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
All right. So in our next section, we get in. Oops, we already did that. Getting on solid ground. Yes. So getting on solid ground is about starting to really take control of what's happening with your finances. So talk a little bit about what you share in that part of the book.
Exactly. This is about where you start to find the relief. This is when you say, okay, I've done the hard thing. I've taken a good, long, hard look. Now I'm breathing easier a little bit. Now, how do I get on solid ground? How do I manage my money so that this doesn't happen again? Or if something goes bump, I know how to handle it myself. It's the difference between the stress and the tears of it and writing a check. And I think I also talk about in this section the emergency fund. And the emergency fund, I say this everywhere I go because it honestly is just the truth. It saved my entire life. It changed my entire life. I had never heard about this. It actually is what started my journey.
Okay.
That's why I was clicking around trying to find out what to do with my money. And I found something about an emergency fund. It was foreign to me. I had never heard of it. And I began to research from there. And it changed my life. The first time you begin to try to save for an emergency fund, I don't care if you got $10, $25, $200, whatever it is. The idea is to get to saving $1,000 because whoever heard of a $50 emergency?
Right.
You can get 10 people to give you $5 and take care of that.
Right.
But $1,000, $500, the car breaks down, the refrigerator goes out. I tell a story about the dental bill that had me in tears. I saw what it felt like not to have it and not know what I was going to do. And then the first time I was able to actually write a check with ease, I was like, this is good. I like this life. I can live, I can live like this. You know what I mean? It is a complete game changer. And it's important to have and important to build. And I'm going to tell you something. Don't feel like you don't have enough money. I don't care if it's just $10. I don't care if you spend 3 months putting $10 in and then having to go back and get that $10, because one day you're going to be able to put 20 in. Then the next, you might be able to put 200 in. And before you know it, at some point, you're going to be looking at $500 sitting in your account and you not having to touch it. And then 1,000, and then what might happen, I'm just warning everybody, because let's say you get your $1,000 and you're feeling good about yourself, and then life starts lifing, and you got to put all four brand new tires on the car. You have to do something like that, and you've got to go take most of it out. I want you to celebrate the fact that you had it versus mourn the fact that you got to take it out. Okay? So that's what I want you to do, because number one, you got it in there once before, you know how to get it back.
Right.
And that is what it's for. You're going to be replenishing your emergency fund throughout your life, because that is what it's for. So celebrate the fact that you had it to go get.
That's good. That's good stuff. And I like the fact that you talk about, starting where you are and building from there.
Yeah.
And building from there, because that's so important. And I know my mom watches, and I know she's going to be like, see.
I was right all along.
Oh, that emergency fund, because she that full transparency, she fusses at me about that. You need that emergency fund. Yeah. But along those lines, we start with our $1,000 and then, be able to build from there. Now, oftentimes we will hear things about save a certain amount, months of expenses or income. Yeah. How important is that? And what do you think is the amount that the average person should have in terms of months of expenses saved?
So it used to be 3 to 6 months. But now, in all honesty, it's about a year. But it's expenses. So when the first time I heard this, I think I was in church. I was ready to walk up out of there, because I was I was a single mother, 2 little girls trying to make ends meet. And I was feeling good about myself because I was on a path to learn how to manage money. And I was going on things. And I think I was in church and somebody said, you need to have 6 months saved. And so, first of all, I don't know if the distinction was made between income and expenses.
Okay.
Because it's 2 different things, right? But for everybody else, don't shut down on me. Yes, you should have a year's worth saved. That's first. Okay, fine. But you're not going to start there. Right. You're going to start getting a month's worth of expenses saved. If something goes bump, you're good for a month. Then you add in 2 months, 3 months. You just go slow. You take your time. You develop a strategy, so that, because the truth is that it takes 6 months to a year to find a new job. It just does. Now the blessing, what I love about this world we live in is the gig economy, where you can go work and deliver food. You can deliver groceries. You can deliver packages. All you need is a car. So those are the kind of things that you can do. And there's other things you can do if you don't have a car. You can work customer service at night or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's what I love about now, because back in the day, it wasn't that easy. You literally had to leave your house, leave your kids, and go get another job. So that's the thing about it. You can build your emergency fund. Let's say you took 6 months and worked a second job or did one of those side jobs, and you put all of that money, if you're debt free, because there's a strategy.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna get there in a second.
There's a strategy. So you're making extra money to put wherever you need to put it, is the point. So yeah.
And here's a comment. Thank you, basically, for saying it's okay to take the money. I used to feel bad about taking from the emergency fund, shifting my thinking. Grateful to have it, and I will replenish it.
Big hug to you. Big hug.
Yes.
No shame, no guilt. We're just moving forward. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that is something, because to even have been able to do that is powerful. And like you said earlier, if you've done it once, you can do it again.
That's right. That's
You can
right.
continue to do that. So, talking about the debt, because that is a thing that oftentimes people will say, oh, well, I can't really save because I've got all of these bills. So,
Yeah.
there's kind of two things that go along with that. Of course, it's getting out of the debt or paying down the bills, but also in tandem with that, it helps you to fix your credit along the way if, say, your credit isn't good.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. So as you pay down your debt, of course, it's going to make your credit better as long as you are no longer borrowing and using cards and things like that. Like you're going to have to stop. Like there's no way to sugarcoat that. You have to change your habits. The same thing with paying off the debt and all the things. And a lot of people, my husband told me when we first met, we were dating, came to one of my seminars, and I was telling everybody to get a second job. And he was like, I don't think people are going to keep listening. Now, I had been doing this for years.
Right.
At this point, people been listening. He gonna say people are going to stop coming to your stuff if you keep telling them to get a second job. I said, no, sir. I said, your life is a little different. These people need to go get a second job, So it's important that we're willing to make those sacrifices and to be able to pay off the debt, pay down the debt, to get some relief off our shoulders. That's the key. What are you willing? I ask all my clients, what's absolutely off the table that you will not do? And what are you absolutely willing to do to get your debt down, to reach your financial goals? And you have to be honest with yourself about that, what that looks like.
Yeah, because I mean, it's different for everybody. I know some people, and these are a few things you mentioned. It could be, I mean, yes, you can always go out and earn more money and things like that. And there are different ways. You can sell some of them shoes and bags. You don't want to hear that. You can sell stuff. I mean, you can get another job, and especially I'm thinking, I mean, there have been work from home jobs for a while, but with the pandemic, there are all kinds of things you can do.
It opened up.
Yeah, there's just so many things that you can do to make more money. As I say, you can sell things, all of that sort of stuff. But it's just important that we figure out ways to do that. And it is a sacrifice. If you have to give up the cable for a minute, all you need is the interwebs.
Stream.
Right, exactly. You can stream, which is a lot cheaper. I mean, it might mean, I know, like there was somebody in the book that had a more expensive car that got something.
They sold their car. I've had people who stopped leasing, or paid their car off, or sold a car. Sometimes you have to weigh the benefit of those things. You do need a reliable vehicle. So just whatever you're willing to sacrifice. And I know I keep saying this, but you just have to be honest about that. And if you make a list of what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're not willing to sacrifice, and if the not sacrifice is so long, like you really have to take a second look and say, do I really want to reach my goal? But some of the things that you can do to make money for the debt is a lot of what we just mentioned. That getting into extra jobs, selling the stuff. It's easy to sell stuff online now, and go and collect on all the money that's due you. Who owes you money? Look. Who owes you money? Go.
Right. You know that Rihanna song. I'm not gonna repeat it.
We don't talk offline again. Look, we got
exactly. It's something better have my money. Just put it that way. Somebody better have my money. Yes. Yes, that is so important. But because I mean, oh gosh, that's a whole nother offline. That's a whole nother conversation. But being able to do that, and something that you talk about, and I'm sitting here looking at mine right now, it might mean you don't go get these done as often. Might mean, like I'm natural, so I don't have to go as often, things like that,
and it's just a season.
Season.
That's the other thing. It's just a season because we do work hard. We do deserve certain things. And I use that word deserve real lightly. But it's important that we get closer to your goal. And remember that's just a season, and that it won't always be, because you essentially, if you take just take the next two, I won't even say three, I normally say 3 years, but take the next 2 years and focus on becoming financially stable. Take the next 2 years. You got a long time to live. And as long as you don't fall back into those other habits again, you're going to live financially free and be able to build wealth. But if you take the next 2 years and spend it paying off debt, doing this, doing that, you know what I mean? You'll find yourself in a situation where you'll be able to go on any vacation you want to go on.
Right.
When the kids need something, you won't have to discuss it. Or we go get it. You know, when you want something, you go get it. It won't be an issue because you've set yourself up for success.
Right. And as you're saying, I was just thinking like, yes, like those travels, because I will admit, you know, everybody's traveling. Travel is a thing, right? And a lot of times there'll be these trips for, 10 days somewhere in Africa or, Bali or whatever.
$4,000. Yeah.
And that's cheap, actually.
I
know. Because a lot of times it's more than that. And you still got to, have spending money, and you still got to buy the flight, because sometimes those things aren't included. But in my head, my thing is I want to be able to, write the check, so to speak, for a trip like that, not put it on payments, because if you put it on payments and something happens, then you can't, be in a position where I can just say, okay, yes, that might be a $6,000 trip, but I can do it and it's not going to hurt anything else.
Exactly.
But to build for that space. So that is so important. So believe it or not, we're starting to run out of time. We're having such a good time here. But I do want to move on to the next thing, which is growing your money. Which a lot of that has to do with investments.
Yes. So in the book, there are 2 chapters on investing, because I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to kind of dip their toe in. The first chapter, I think it's chapter 9, is a 101. And that's just I just try to walk you through some simple terms. The second chapter, 102, is for someone who may be a little more astute, or it's your continuation of 101, so that you can now begin to start implementing some things. I don't want anyone to fear investing. I want you to be educated. That is so important. It is important that you understand it, which is why there's also a chapter. It's a 101 chapter on crypto as well. And I don't want, this is not going to make you an expert on crypto. But what is key is that you understand it's not going anywhere, and you want to be knowledgeable, number one, so you can see scams, because there are so many scams out here. Join this, do that. We're going to make you rich on crypto. And none of those folks have gotten rich. None of them. Right. So you have to be knowledgeable, and you have to be smart. So that when people approach you with things, you know what is real and what is a scam. So that's why I put a crypto 101 section in there for everybody. And everyone who buys the book, you'll see inside there's additional resources. There's links to additional resources for you along the lines of the crypto section and other pieces too. But I just want people to be educated, because if you put your head in the sand, it's like you're operating in a world that doesn't exist. You have to know the things that are out here.
Right. And as you were talking, and from my reading, it's just thinking about the fact, because these are things that are building on one another. And so, like, for that person who has a lot of debt, maybe doesn't have a whole lot of savings that they can use in the case of an emergency. Oftentimes, they can't even think about what it means to invest.
No, and they shouldn't. It's not time. Remember, that's why we, like you said, it builds on one section builds on the other section. So once you get on solid ground, you might be there for a year or two. And then you're educated enough about investing so that when you get ready, you can then go and invest. And I'm so glad you brought this up, because a lot of times people will say, oh, I want to buy a real estate property. I didn't cover that in the book. That was just too much. That's a whole book in itself. But they'll say, I want to buy real estate property. I want to invest in stocks and mutual funds and all the things, but they really cannot. If you're in the red right now, you've got some other foundational things to do, and investing is not it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't mean you won't always be able to, and you can invest in your retirement piece.
Right.
Do your retirement, invest in your company's 401k, or if you're an entrepreneur, do a simple IRA or something like that. Do take care of your retirement. But if you are in the red and feeling the pressures of the of finances on your shoulders all the time, it is not time to invest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in my mind, that would be more stressful depending on what depending on what you're investing in. Because you know all the ups and downs and highs and lows and all of that. And then your money's already funny, and now you got money over here acting funny too.
No.
Because you know we know that when you invest, it's supposed to be for the long haul,
long term. Yes.
And when you see all this up and down, and your money's already funny,
makes you nervous.
Makes you nervous. Yeah. Well, I love that you talk about that, and let's spend a few more minutes, just talking about retirement, because the majority of my audience is Black women, not all, but primarily.
Okay.
So, how important is it for us as Black women specifically to make sure that we are getting to a place where we can set something aside for our retirement?
It is extremely important. And I want you to do it regardless of your age. So if you are a young woman just getting started in your career, or if you are approaching retirement and you feel like it's too late, it is not. Please just get something started now. A lot of times with Black women, we put other people before us in our family. We take care of everybody, and we figure we're resourceful. We'll pick it up in the wash or take care of ourselves later. I had one who went into her 401k to help her son with the down payment for his house, and she was 60. And I told her, I said, I really wish you had talked to me before you had done that, because at the end of the day, your son is young. He could find 20 million ways to try to buy a house, and maybe he don't need to buy a house right now. Maybe he needs to rent until he gets the down payment for that. Because, and this is just being honest, our kids are not about to do for us like we did for them necessarily. Like, if we're just being honest about that, you know, they're not there.
They can't.
They can't. And they can't. And really, they're thinking about themselves. They're growing. They're trying to figure things out. They're in their 20s and 30s, and they're trying to figure things out for themselves. They're not in a position to do that. And then some of our kids just not of that mindset, right?
Right.
So you have to do what you need to do for yourself. Get yourself on solid ground. You don't want to touch your 401k for things like that. Now, it's very important that you start saving for I don't care. I know, like, some companies will only match if you put a certain percentage. Don't worry about that. If you can match and put that percentage in there to get the match, please do, by all means. But if you're like, well, I can't, so I'm not going to invest at all, don't have that mindset. If it's 1%, put it in. If it's 2%, put it in until you're able to match whatever your employer will be able to do. And here's something that I learned when I first started my career, and this was some of the best advice I ever got, and that was to use your raises and increase your percentages on your raises in your retirement based on your raise. So what that looks like is you get a 3% raise, you increase your contributions to your retirement by 3%. Now, I'm not here to tell you that I was able to do that right off the bat. I was not. It took a few years until I got on good financial footing, because I needed those percentages. Back then we got like 10% increases. Those days are gone, but
where were you working?
We're at 3%. We're at 3%, 3 and 5% now in some cases. So increase your retirement by that percentage, so that it's a no-brainer, and you've got it, and you're just continuing to live on the money that you earned.
That's good stuff. That is good stuff. Because, that's a whole nother conversation we don't have time to get into, because I'm thinking about inflation and all those
everything.
But it is important because, how can I put it? There are too many people who end up at retirement age and they can't retire
Can't
at
retire.
all, or they're struggling because Social Security generally isn't going to
Can't live
be
on it.
enough.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for bringing that up. You cannot live on Social Security. Everybody at the sound of our voices, everybody watching, um, I heard so many people say that they were going to live on Social Security. They would not listen. And you cannot. It's not enough money. Even if you scaled your life back, it is not enough money to live on. And it hurt a lot of people in their retirement, especially if there's an illness.
Mm.
You People do not consider the illnesses. So get your insurance, have your insurance, and have some retirement money so that you can live the life you want in retirement and be honest about what that life is for you. Like if you want to maintain the life that you have and you know that, be honest about that and know that that's how much money. If you are making six figures and you're spending six figures and you want to continue to spend that in retirement, then you need to put enough in there so that you'll have that for 30, 40 years after you
Mm-hmm.
retire.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's so important. And I'm talking to y'all, but all of this is for me too, because there are areas where I know I need to, I need
We
to.
all have some areas.
Yeah, there is where I need to make sure because in my case, I'm single. So it's like it's not even like I could depend on a mate, but that's a whole nother
That's a
conversation.
whole
Because
nother
sometimes
conversation.
those
Yeah,
mates can't really help you either, depending on what their situation
yeah,
is. So
absolutely.
whatever happens is gonna, ultimately be my responsibility to make sure I
Yeah,
have what I need.
yes.
So that's just so important. And because we're running out of time, believe it or not, 'cause I'm having so much fun with you,
Yeah,
Dorothea.
thank you so much. Me
We're
too.
having a good time here. But in the last section, we talk about securing your money, which
Yes,
does happen to insurance, which you mentioned, and
yes.
some other things, which you just mentioned.
Yes. We talk about insurance. I share some realities that I even being someone who's in this world, in this industry, and has been teaching it for years. Some realities that I had to come to grips with, and I'm somebody I had to look at the insurance and my own with my husband and myself, but also my mother, and then power of attorneys for your children. There
Mm-hmm.
are just some things to think about, and you definitely don't want to skip that chapter because it was we met with my with our estate attorney, and I'm savvy, I know what I'm doing, but
Mm-hmm.
she gave us our entire life in that session and educated
Mm-hmm.
us in such a good way, which is why we talk about whether you do your own will or whether you don't. But there's a conversation. If you have a good attorney, there's education and conversation that goes on that you're not going to get online. So it's
Mm-hmm.
something to consider.
Yes. And when I lived in Detroit, actually, I worked in the insurance industry.
Oh, so you know.
So I know. And one of the things that will oftentimes come up, because in Detroit, and we know
Yeah.
about it's expensive and redlining and all these different things. And I'm saying Detroit because that's where we have in
Yeah.
common,
Yeah.
but it could
Yeah.
be anywhere,
Any urban area.
any urban area.
Yeah.
But I would see people come in with the nicest cars and spend all this money to insure their vehicles. Of course, if they're purchasing a home, they have to insure that because their loan requires it.
Yes.
Or they would go in Detroit. They love the furs and all these
Yes.
things. They
Yes.
would come in and get their riders for their furs and
Yeah.
their jewelry and stuff. But try to have a conversation about life insurance.
Mm-mm. It's an interesting thing, and it is number one, people think they can't afford it,
Right.
and I don't, it's so that's where the education comes in. It's like you can get a term life policy, at least get burial insurance. Like I said, it was a tough conversation. Me and my mom had to have the conversation, and that's another thing, having the conversation with your loved ones so that when something does happen, you're prepared and you don't have to not only mourn, but then mourn the fact that you don't have any money to take care of the funeral expenses, burial, all the things. So I would encourage everyone at least have burial insurance. Now, I talk about how life insurance is a great way to leave money to people. But if you're like, I'm not interested in that, uh, at least have enough to cover the cost of a funeral, burial, casket, service, those kind of things, so that your loved ones can mourn without worrying about the money.
Right. And I'm going to say this real quick because I told y'all I used to be in the business, right? I'm going to find somebody who's like a life insurance person to come on and like really dive deeper into that, because the other thing is to consider like your age and stage of life.
Yes.
Because if say it's that 30-year-old person who just got married and starting a family, and God forbid something happens to them and they got this house, they got these kids.
Yes.
And things like that, those are things to consider as well, because how is that family going to be able to survive and thrive if someone passes away prematurely? So I'm going to get somebody to come and talk real specific about that, because that's important. That's important as well. But we have a question from Rachel. Is disability insurance for covering percentage of earnings if you're medically unable to work a part of financial planning still?
Absolutely, Rachel. Absolutely. Insurance is part of financial planning. Mm-hmm. So financial planning is not just about your budgeting and your investing, but how you secure your money, how you grow your money. It's all a part of your financial plan. So think of it in buckets. Think of it in categories, but absolutely, it is definitely part of your financial planning, your short-term disability, your long-term disability, all the things. Yes.
Long-term care as well, because that's another one. Real quick insurance date story. There was a young lady that the person who owned the agency had a friend that was young, got into a bad car accident, didn't have a husband, didn't have kids, nobody to take care of her. Had she had a long-term care policy, there are certain things that she could have gotten help with, but she didn't have one. So and all of these things cost money, because long-term care definitely isn't cheap.
Yes, it is one of the more expensive.
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
But those are things to think about, especially for any of us. But like, I'm thinking somebody like me who is single, and my family, my closest family lives 5 hours away. So what happens? Who's going to take care of me?
Yes.
So those are just things to think about. So actually, we have hit it. We have hit it, and on time. 5:59. So we're doing good here. So there is one other thing I want to ask you about. Okay. Workspace Spark.
I have my boxes over there. Workspace Spark is a career growth community and membership. And every month they get career growth training, and we ship out a box of career tools, tech tools, notebooks, trendy things for your desk. It is for working professional men and women so that they can excel. It again stemmed from my corporate leadership career. I've been on both sides of individual contributor and leadership, and I saw the difference between the two. And I really wanted something where people could get real talk about how to grow in their careers, and not just the, nice to say things. So that's what Workspace Spark is. It is an amazing community of working professionals.
Yes, so please check that out. And you also offer different other types of coaching as well. So tell us a little bit about the services that you offer besides the Money Chat.
Yes, in addition to being the founder and author of Money Chat, I am a personal finance coach, but I'm also a business coach. So I teach entrepreneurs, whether they're at the startup or growth phases. I've worked with a lot of organizations in the community, and I help them start, run, and grow their businesses from everything. A lot of my background, especially being in corporate, on the operations and the finance side, and then also the marketing side. How do you actually build a six-figure business plus, and how do you maintain that revenue, hiring your teams? I help people understand how to run a business from beginning to end and grow their revenue so that they aren't burnt out and overwhelmed. Absolutely.
Good stuff. Oh, that's good. So yeah, you all, we're here because of the money chat, but there are so many wonderful things that Dorothea
Thank
offers.
you.
So of course, you're based in the Detroit area, but your services are available
Yes,
nationwide.
from the beginning, it's so interesting that now everybody's remote. But when I started my business 20 years ago, everything was online already.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is online. I have clients all over the world. So yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's somebody has had a question. That is what I was wondering. I did my benefits. Okay. And added those policy, and the total is about $30 a pay period, but it would
That's
give me
good.
peace of mind. Thank you so much for all this good
That's good.
information. You're
That's good.
welcome. You're
Yes.
welcome.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean it's so many things. And like I was saying earlier about, the people who will insure all their stuff, but
Yes.
they won't insure their most valuable asset, who is
Yes.
themselves.
Themselves.
So all of this is so important. And Dorothea, I am so glad that I was able to
Yeah.
get you here. Like I told you earlier before we came on, I shifted my normal 8 o'clock time to
I
5 o'clock
thank you. I thank you so much.
just so I could
I
get
thank
you
you.
here. And
Yes.
this has been such a powerful conversation, to everyone who has watched either live or, if you're watching in the replay. If you're watching live, there are at least 3 people that probably should have been here. So please share this out with them. So those people that need to know that information. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. This is my friend from Detroit. She's like,
Hey,
she's
Detroit
gonna look you
love.
up.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes,
Detroit
Cassandra.
love. That's right.
Yes, that's my buddy from Detroit for sure. So yes,
Yes,
look
let's
her up.
connect. Let's
Look
connect.
her up. Yes, but it's just so important for us to have this information. So as I said, there are at least 3 people that that couldn't be here or didn't know that it was happening. So please share it with them, whether it's on Facebook. You are the first one, Dorothea, that I actually have done on LinkedIn. I never did the LinkedIn Live, so you're
Oh,
number one.
nice, nice.
Because I know that you have a good audience there. I
Thank you,
wanted
thank
people to
you.
be able
Yes,
to see that. But and this is such an important conversation that the
thank you.
more people that have an opportunity to see it and hear it is just that important. So please go ahead, grab a copy of the book. There's a hardcover. There is a paperback as well.
Yes,
Is there
there's a
audio too?
yes. Audio is coming out in
Okay.
August. In
Okay.
August.
Okay.
Excited, very excited. Just finished wrapping that up. Got to do a few edits, so that's exciting.
All right. Well, be on the lookout for that. All of her socials and both websites are scrolling at the bottom, have been for the entire time. So please tap in wherever you can. Reach out, especially you, Chrysanthemum. I'm going to ask you later if you did. Yeah, that's one of my buddies I've known for quite a few years. So thank you. I really do appreciate you. Now, I'm going to let you go, but don't hang up. Don't click off yet, because I do want to say a proper goodbye. But I also want to let people know what's coming for next week. So thanks again. Thanks again. So hold on one sec. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, because this was a really powerful conversation. As I said, powerful, important, something that's worthy of being shared, because our finances are an area that do impact whether or not we can live well. And everybody has to start, with baby steps. There's some things we didn't get into, like the whole part of knowing how much money you have. Know your numbers, just the same as with your health. You got to start by knowing your numbers so you can begin the process of improving your health. And that same thing goes for your financial health as well. So I'm so glad that Dorothea was able to join us today, and looking forward to this. Won't be the last time. It won't be the last time, because she has so many wonderful things to share. But just by means of what's happening next week, we'll have a different type of conversation that will be back at our normal time of 8 p.m. And that is Aisha Harris, she is a podcaster who's on the Pop Culture Happy Hour, which is an NPR podcast. And she will be here to talk about her book, Wannabe: Reckonings with the Pop Culture That Shapes Me. So I'm looking forward to talking to Aisha next week at our normal time, which is 8 p.m. So please feel free to come back and join us for that conversation as well. And once again, if you're following, especially on YouTube or Facebook all of the wonderful conversations that I've had the opportunity to have over the last couple of years are housed there, between the book club, which is more, books and non-fiction and things like that, and Live Well Sister. There are well over 100 videos that you can go and watch. So please do so and let people know. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.